Hello everyone, Steve Roehl with West Central Distribution here. And I'm wondering if you, like myself, wonder why every year when we have wonderful growing conditions like we do today, why sometimes our corn gets into this V3 to V4 stage and goes into what some growers will call a funk. Well, if I was to show you some of this corn today, you can start to see that this corn has been sitting at this stage and is generally a little bit of a yellow color, a little tattered. And the producer is probably sitting there going, with these kind of warm temperatures that we're experiencing today, why isn't that corn just thriving? Well, I'm here to tell you that it all has to do with some of the corn life cycle. You understand that early on in a corn's life, it's getting most of its nutrient reserves and most of its energy from the seed. Okay, so that means that most of the early leaves, or all of the early leaves, are designed for something different than photosynthetic efficiency, but rather for protection. Protection against environmental factors such as wind and cold temperatures. But if you'll take a look at herbicide labels, you'll also understand that some of these tougher leaves that have more crystalline wax formations are also tougher and more resilient against herbicides. We can use more active ingredients and we can use stronger rates, generally speaking, the earlier in the corn life cycle, because those leaves are tougher and more resilient. As these plants start to progress past getting their energy from the root reserves and start to need to formulate their own energy through photosynthesis, these leaves after V4 become much more photosynthetically efficient and also tend to be greener, and the plant takes off quicker. So the next time you see your plant or your cornfield go into a funk around this V3 to V4, understand that it's nothing really inside of your control, but more has to do with the plant cycle itself. Start to imagine it as though a baby that's coming out of the womb. After being nurtured by its mother, it now has to go through a phase change and begin to survive on its own. Well, the corn plant goes through this very same traumatic type of situation when it's transitioning from total seed reserves into photosynthetic capacity. And also need to understand that when it hits this V4 and starts to photosynthesize its own energy, that's the time that it can really utilize a solid starter fertilizer package of NPK and micronutrients to make sure that it does not sit in this stage any longer than it needs to and has easy access to the nutrients it needs to reach full photosynthetic capacity as quickly as possible and reach canopied corn situation by the longest day of the year in mid-June. Again, this is Steve Roehl with West Central Distribution, and we'll talk to you later.